It has been a long, strange year on Days of Our Lives. The show celebrated its 60th anniversary, welcomed new writers, and took us down paths we never would have expected way back in 2024. So Soaps.com is ending the year with a look back at 12 months of twists, turns, thrills, and heartbreaks, some of which hit way too close to home. And to cap it all off, we're taking a peek ahead at what 2026 has in store for us. So strap in, because this was one wild year. The year started with all things body and soul. Chanel was reeling from thinking Johnny and Joy had had an affair. Superfan Carrie was undermining the show as the new lady whistleblower, and Alex and Stephanie couldn't be together because of their working relationship, prompting him to hook up with Joy. Plus, someone was stalking the set, and Bonnie nearly died falling down an elevator shaft. But don't worry, things weren't that dire. It was just a soap after all. Johnny and Joy didn't actually sleep together. The artist formerly known as Nurse Whitley was stopped before she could kill anyone, and once the show was sold to folks in Los Angeles, Alex dumped Joy for his true love, Stephanie. Then Joy left. Hattie moved to be a star. And that was the end of Body and Soul. And the people rejoiced. Johnny and Chanel eventually found their way back to each other and, all forgiven and forgotten, decided it was time to expand their family. Unfortunately, that was happening just as he learned that he was conceived when his dad raped his mom. The good news is that it brought Johnny and Sammy closer than ever. The bad is that he decided he couldn't be a father, just in time to back out of adopting Tate and Sophia's baby. After his exoneration, he decided he was ready to be a dad, so Johnny and Chanel set about adopting baby Tesoro. You know, the baby they were going to adopt before. Sophia wasn't about to let that happen, and did her best to destroy the happy couple along with Holly, and make sure social services never let them get their hands on any baby. But in the end, they got baby Tesoro, and Chanel ended up pregnant once more. Sophia's pregnancy was all over the place, as she convinced her mom to let her and Tate put the baby up for adoption, then had the whole thing ripped out from under her by Johnny. By the time Sophia gave birth alone in her bedroom, she was so desperate not to be a mom, she convinced Melinda to help her fake an adoption while leaving the baby at the firehouse for Javi and Leo to ultimately care for. But Sophia's web of lies just kept growing and growing until Brady, of all people, figured out that baby Tesoro was his grandson. Or he would have if Tesoro was his grandson. Tate was never the father. Aaron was. And once everyone cornered Sophia, she flipped out, then stopped talking, and was committed to Bayview. The year also started with EJ doing everything he could to set himself up for his shooting. After some Aramid shenanigans reunited Kristen with her very much not dead mother Rachel, EJ made the unstable Blake matriarch disappear. Kristen was not happy with her brother, but she didn't have much choice but to go along with it or risk her mom's life. As this was all going on, Arnold was busy blowing up Rafe's life, framing Jada, ditching her at the altar, and taking her job as police commissioner. By the time the truth came out, the real Rafe returned and Arnold vanished, though too much damage was done for Jada and Rafe to survive. Jada eventually got her job back, but Rafe returned to the FBI, and the two went their separate ways. When EJ was shot and put in a coma, the whole town was under suspicion, including the police commissioner. As we worked through suspects, EJ came out of his coma, vowing to be a better, kinder, gentler man. He even seemed to be serious about it for about 5 seconds. Then the old scheming, snarky, controlling EJ emerged once again. Eventually, Johnny was charged and put on trial, only for us to learn that Rachel had shot her uncle and blocked it from her mind. EJ had no problem using that to his advantage to get Johnny off for the shooting, by forcing Kristen to confess to protect her daughter. EJ, meanwhile, won a bidding war with Xander for the hospital, thanks to a little extra infusion of capital courtesy of Gwen and the von Leuschner fortune. Don't think for a minute that this was altruistic, though. Was EJ set about cutting costs to the bone and used his new facility to house a secret lab. The plan seems to be creating a lucrative revival drug with Dr. Rolf's help, while EJ keeps talking to someone in a suspended animation tube who may or may not be a deceased family member. The FBI and the ISA knew something was up, but they couldn't be sure what that something was. So Shane forced Kat back into the ISA and teamed her up with Rafe to get to the bottom of things. They didn't. But hey, there's always 2026. John disappeared while on assignment, which put Steve and Marlena up against their old nemesis, Orpheus. Once the villain was taken down, the ISA found and rescued John. But things took a turn on his way home. Because at the same time, Beau's condition deteriorated, and the only thing that could save him was an experimental drug that was promptly stolen. John showed up in Salem just in time to help recover the drug, but he was caught in an explosion in the process, and his wounds soon killed him. Beau recovered to run off into the sunset with hope, but that wasn't nearly as joyful as it should have been as all of Salem mourned John. None struggled more than Marlena, who's still trying to figure out what life looks like after John. It didn't help that she was having a series of mysterious health issues that she thought were just in her head, until she was finally diagnosed as having Lyme disease. Rachel had her own mental break after the whole EJ shooting, and despite her bond with Sarah, had no problem poisoning her with pistachio when she learned the doc had once kidnapped her as a baby. Rachel immediately felt bad, claiming she didn't know Sarah could die from her allergy. But there's only so many times you can almost kill people before folks start questioning if you're okay. To top it all off, Rachel finally remembered shooting Uncle EJ. Brady, finally at a loss, had her committed to Bayview, where she could get treatment, and secretly befriend a very not comatose Sophia. She's still being treated, but luckily, Brady got over his anger with Marlena before the year ended. Once Alex and Stephanie got back together, the two were full steam ahead. And we do mean steam. They couldn't keep their hands off each other, especially once Alex got his hands on Steph's red-hot romance novel. It was an instant bestseller, and Anastasia Sands was an overnight sensation. But trouble soon followed as Stephanie's abusive ex, Jeremy Horton, returned to town, though he did promise that he's changed for the better. And when EJ told Leo about Anastasia's true identity, Stephanie had to come out of the shadows and deal with the fame that came with one stormy night. Oh, and she also had to deal with a creepy, obsessed fan stalker who may or may not be Jeremy. The year was going swimmingly for Xander, who was happy in his marriage and had finally warmed up to running Titan with Philip. In fact, the two brothers even managed to swipe Demera out from under their enemies' noses. But then it all fell apart when Vivian returned to tell Xander about Philip's forged letter from Victor. Xander beat his brother within an inch of his life, and Philip, in turn, told him that Sarah knew about the forgery the whole time. Somehow, Philip and Xander made up, but the blinders were off of Zara, and they imploded in a bitter, nasty divorce that ended with Sarah taking full custody of Victoria. But hey, at least Xander finally got therapy and is actually turning into a pretty decent guy, who may or may not be seething at Sarah and Brady getting close. Tony returned to town to discover his siblings had all but given up on Demera and, disgusted by the lot of them, brought Theo in to take over after duping Gabby into betraying her Titan bosses. She got the dirt needed to blackmail Philip and Xander into giving up Demera, but instead of getting the top spot at Tony's family company, she was just given Gabby Chic as reward. And honestly, that may have saved her since someone started targeting and kidnapping all of Stefano's kids, along with Theo, who was the Dimera CEO. The kidnapper ended up being Peter, who dumped them in the family crypt and was all mopey and bitter over being forgotten for decades. So he decided to kill all of Stefano's heirs in revenge. He didn't succeed, but Theo was put in a coma, and the Demeras were left deciding if Peter should live or die. And to top it all off, Days of Our Lives celebrated 60 years with a Horton-tastic anniversary centered around the Tom Horton Free Clinic that EJ opened at the hospital. And that clinic has been MIA ever since, other than housing EJ's secret lab. With Dimitri dropping in, we're going to say that Leo and Javi's New Year's Eve wedding is anything but calm, which is exactly what we're guessing Gwen is hoping for. But our bet is Leo sticks to his guns and his man and gives Dimitri the boot. Speaking of giving people the boot, our hope is that Chad does that with Jennifer and Jack and finally gets them to drop this custody fight. And if he does manage that, then he and Kat are sure to find their way back to each other. As for who's in EJ's green tube, our favorite contender is still Lexi, and that's sure to cause trouble between Abe and Paulina, no matter how much they love each other. Plus, she's sure to have a thing or two to say about Theo being CEO once he's awake and healthy again. That's probably exactly what EJ is hoping, since he admitted he'd rather have Johnny run the company, which is good, because John Roman isn't going anywhere. Speaking of Johnny, he's probably right to be worried about Chanel's pregnancy, but with Sophia seething over them adopting her baby and scheming from within Bayview, we're worried that the threat to the new baby will end up coming from outside instead of in. And that's just the start, because the winter preview has already teased Sean getting shot, Holly taking a turn, Alex and Stephanie getting engaged, and Sarah and Brady growing closer. So buckle in, because 2026 is sure to be a blast. The previous episode of Days of Our Lives saw Johnny sharing his growing fear with Chanel now that she was pregnant. Tony and Anna had a joyous reunion. Javi questioned Leo while Gwen told EJ her plan. And then last but not least, in a surprising turn of events, Kate teamed up with Xander. The drama, worry, chaos, changes, doubts, friction, and more are about to escalate very soon. Here's what fans can expect from the December 31st, 2025 episode of Days of Our Lives when they tune in to Peacock to stream the daytime drama revolving around Salem, Illinois. The episode on Wednesday sees Kristen being forced to make a difficult decision. The last couple of months have been hard for her. She went to prison by taking the blame for shooting EJ to protect her daughter Rachel, who was the actual culprit. She was then kidnapped by Peter Blake. Many of the DiMeras, including Kristen, were held captive in the crypt from which they recently escaped. And now she is about to make some tough decisions. Rachel wants to confess that she was the one who shot EJ. She is not in favor of that, but Brady thinks their daughter is doing the right thing, and that isn't all. Peter is hospitalized, and a choice has to be made. Will she agree to pull the plug on him, or will she decide to keep him alive and running? Meanwhile, Melinda and Belle strike a deal. What is this going to be about? Is it related to EJ, or maybe Sophia, who is Melinda's client? When the DiMera brothers contemplate their options, what choice will they eventually make? Elsewhere, Kat and Chad have an awkward run-in. The two wanted to keep their romance going, but Chad's in-laws and son made things hard for him, which led to their breakup. How will their meeting fare? Especially since he returned from captivity, will he find out that Kat kissed EJ in a body to search his house and get intel to expose him? How will he react to it? And lastly, Rachel and Sophia receive visitors on New Year's Eve. Who will it be? Is it going to be Brady and Tate, or someone else? Days of Our Lives. Spoilers reveal that Gwen von Lochner wants Leo Stark to pay for sleeping with her ex-husband, Dimitri von Lochner, and we hope she ultimately decides not to seek revenge. In the December 30th episode of Duel, EJ DiMera admitted to Gwen that he had asked his assistant, Rita Leslie, to take care of Leo, which can't mean anything good. Gwen convinced EJ to let her get revenge on Leo in her own way and in her own time. We know from the Duel winter preview that Dimitri returns to Salem at some point soon and plants a juicy smooch on Leo. Obviously, Gwen is likely behind Dimitri's sudden resurgence. Meanwhile, Leo and Javi Hernandez are planning a New Year's Eve wedding, and they have invited Gwen to attend. Gwen even enlisted Gabby Hernandez to design a fabulous dress for her. We assume it's for her to wear for the occasion. Interestingly, Gwen went out of her way to bond with Gabby. Gwen used a couple of strong drinks, some girl talk, and their common status as outsiders in Salem with scores to settle to charm Gabby. Gwen was burned by Dimitri. Gabby was burned by Stefan DiMera. It was fun to watch them commiserate. However, we know Gwen, and she never does anything without her own self-interest at heart. She may have a plan in mind, and somehow Gabby fits into it. That said, when Leo and Javi asked Gwen to come to the wedding, Leo told her he knew he did her dirty, but he still cares about her and misses her terribly. It's almost too painful to watch, knowing that Gwen has a sinister plan for revenge on Leo. However, we're honestly kind of relieved that Gwen talked EJ into letting her handle Maddie. EJ could easily have Leo killed. He doesn't want anyone to find out whatever shady experiments he and Dr. Wilhelm Rolf are working on in that creepy lab. As a reporter for The Spectre and an accomplished investigative journalist, Leo has been poking around trying to uncover whatever EJ is hiding. We love our Leo, but he's playing with fire and is in serious danger if he keeps it up. A small part of us is wondering if perhaps Gwen was in some way protecting Leo from EJ's wrath. Yet, it's Gwen von Leuschner. The woman stole her husband's inheritance. Of course, it was part of her revenge on Dimitri for cheating on her with her BFF. Gwen doesn't mess around when it comes to evening the score. Dimitri is set to return and tell Leo that he never wanted to leave him, and the Dear John letter Leo supposedly received from him was fake. It also crossed our minds that Gabby might discover that Gwen is scheming to break up Javi and Leo. If so, we think that she'd likely warn them not to trust Gwen after all. However, we had high hopes for a Gwen/Maddie reunion. Image credit. JPI Studios. While Gabby has just started to warm up to Leo, she loves her cousin with all her heart and would likely thwart Gwen's plans. Leo and Javi are happy, and it's the first truly healthy relationship that Leo has ever had. They are about to embark on a beautiful new chapter. We don't want Gwen to ruin that or his wedding. In the end, we hope Gwen's better angels prevail, and she realizes that Leo has really changed and that she wants to revisit their special bond. Otherwise, this may not end well for Leo. Here's what's coming up on Days of Our Lives for Thursday, January 1st, 2026. From wedding plans to bonds, you can't afford to miss it. Fans can expect Leo to ask Marlena for help, while Chanel resents Johnny. Soap opera news has the scoop. Things are feeling a little uneasy for Johnny and Chanel right now. Chanel is pregnant, which should be a joyful time, but there is a quiet tension hanging over them. Johnny is clearly worried about what could happen to her and the baby, and it shows. Meanwhile, with Theo in the hospital, he has stepped in at Dimera Enterprises and is doing his best to hold everything together until Theo returns. It is the responsible thing to do, but that does not make it easy. Chanel is not thrilled about Johnny staying at Dimera Enterprises, and her feelings make complete sense. She never wanted her husband pulled deeper into his family's business or their high-drama lifestyle. That world has a way of swallowing people. Spoilers hint that Chanel begins to resent Johnny, and we can't help but wonder, is her frustration really about the job itself, or is it about fear for their future and the kind of life they are building with a baby on the way? Meanwhile, an unexpected connection is forming between Gabby and Gwen. These two have never exactly been close, but a recent scene showed them commiserating over their ex-husbands. Since then, Gabby has learned her ex is dead. The news is shocking, disappointing, and heartbreaking all at once. It feels like the kind of loss that changes everything. That brief moment of bonding may not have been a one-time thing because here we are again. Days spoilers for January 1st, 2026 also tease that Leo turns to Marlena for help. Given how close his wedding is, it is hard not to assume this is about his upcoming marriage. The big day is here, and Leo, seeking guidance, feels very on brand, especially when emotions are running high. At the same time, the Hernandez family is preparing for Javi's marriage to Leo. Excitement is building, nerves are kicking in, and with this group, nothing is ever completely simple. Weddings in Salem rarely arrive without complications, and this one looks no different. Except, not the kind we're used to. That's all for Days of Our Lives spoilers for January 1st, 2026. Which storyline are you most excited for? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to check out the dual spoilers for even more drama coming to Peacock. More than 90 actors appeared on Days of Our Lives across the 261 episodes that aired between January 1st and December 31st, 2025. But one actor stood out, leading the pack by more than 40 episodes. According to Days of Our Lives historian Jason47, actor Dan Feuerriegel appeared as E.J. Dimera in 141 of the show's 261 episodes in 2025, making him the most-seen performer of the year. That total means Feuerriegel appeared in more than 54% of the episodes that aired during the year. Much of E.J. Dimera's heavy screen time was driven by major storylines, including the revelations surrounding Johnny Dimera's conception, the ensuing Who Shot E.J. arc, and E.J.'s takeover of Salem University Hospital. Feuerriegel also tied for the most appearances in 2024, appearing in 104 episodes alongside Eric Martsolf, who portrays Brady Black. Prior to that, Feuerriegel led the cast in 2023 with 105 appearances and in 2022 with 112. The 2025 total marks his fourth year atop the show's annual appearance rankings. Since joining the NBC Peacock soap, Feuerriegel has appeared in more than 524 episodes overall. That total ties him with his on-screen sister, Stacey Hayduck, and places him as the 85th most appearing actor in Days of Our Lives history. Coming in second was Carson Boatman, who plays EJ's on-screen son, Johnny DiMera. Boatman made 101 appearances in 2025, tying with Days of Our Lives legend Deidre Hall. Hall appeared 96 times as Marlena Black and an additional 5 times as her look-alike, Hattie Adams, for a combined total of 101 episodes. Eric Martsolf, who portrays Brady Black, appeared in 100 episodes during the year, while Paul Telfer followed closely behind with 95 appearances. Rounding out the top 10 were Martha Madison with 92 appearances, Lindsay Godfrey with 89, Cherie Jimenez and Abigail Klein tied with 87 appearances each, and Raven Bowens with 86 episodes. All happenings and drama on Days of Our Lives in 2025 necessitated many cast changes and some new arrivals. Currently, the townspeople are busy with the aftermath of the DiMera hostage rescue, while Sophia turned out to be a crooked character. Elsewhere, EJ continues to cook up a mystery with Dr. Rolfe in a secret lab, while the Black family bids adieu to their patriarch. A quick look back at Days of Our Lives in 2025 presented Sophia Choi's predicament as she became pregnant but did not want her baby. As such, she used Melinda Trask to manipulate Tate and his family. Elsewhere, EJ DiMera was shot at but could not recall his shooter. After Johnny was accused of being the prime suspect, EJ represented his son in court to have Johnny released. However, he remembered Rachel shooting him. With Marlena's help, they communicated the same to Kristen, who confessed to the crime to save her daughter. Later, Rachel tried to raise allergic reactions in Sarah by secretly feeding her pistachio ice cream, but she confessed to her crime due to remorse. At the same time, she remembered shooting Uncle EJ. As she revealed the truth, a tearful Brady had her committed to Bayview for treatment. Meanwhile, members of the DiMera family were abducted, starting with Tony and ending with Peter Blake. As they were put inside the family crypt, some doubts were cleared, and Peter admitted to being the mastermind of the hostage fiasco in his greed to grab the family assets. The situation left Peter, Theo, and Kristen injured while Chad was reunited with his children. After a bad episode of captivity by her boyfriend, Brady's daughter and her namesake grandmother, Ava, tried to give in to Brady's demands of staying quiet about little Rachel. However, Rachel and her grandmother threatened her and posed problems in her romance with Brady. To add to her insult, EJ shrugged her off when she asked for cooperation. As such, she decided to shoot EJ and leave town. Unfortunately, she left in a hurry when she found EJ injured by a gunshot. The grandson of the late Doug Williams enraged his grandmother by stealing and trading the family heirloom necklace. However, he tried his best to make peace with Julie. Mid-2025 saw Myers Doug help Tate save the abducted Holly and Ariana from his moneylenders. Moreover, he stole the Horton family's necklace back from Gwen and returned it to its owners before leaving town. Alexandre's Joy was introduced to the Days of Our Lives storyline as a romantic interest for Alex, who was moving away from Stephanie. However, her closeness made her pregnant just when Alex and Stephanie reunited. As such, March 2025 saw Joy packing her bags and leaving town. She refrained from informing Alex about her pregnancy as she bid Alex farewell. Madeline Kyntz played Sophia initially when the teenager got involved with Tate, following the latter's fallout with his girlfriend, Holly. 2025 saw Madeline exit the role, and Rachel Boyd stepped in to play Sophia Choi. Rachel's Sophia was adequately sinister to put Tate and Holly on edge. She is currently scheming an escape from Bayview. During the Ava Vitale kidnap arc, Rachel Black was played by Fenley. Later, Alice stepped in to continue playing the innocent but secretly delinquent Rachel Black. Alice's Rachel was seen harming Sarah, poisoning Thomas against his father, throwing pumpkins at Kat, and shooting EJ. In a surprising twist of plot, Stefano's adoptive son, Peter, was the last hostage to land inside the Demera crypt. Played by Dan Gauthier, Peter reunited with his sister Kristen before admitting to having been the mastermind of the hostage fiasco. While he wanted to destroy all contenders to the family's assets, Kristen helped render him unconscious. Currently, he is receiving treatment at the hospital. Ariana returned to Salem to stay with her mother and join the Salem University. Played by Marissa, Ari got involved with Doug III, followed by being kidnapped with Holly. She also played the third friend in the Holly-Sophia dispute. Brady's daughter met Rachel Blake, dressed in white, in the mysterious Blake house. The child received help in holding Ava hostage there without knowing the senior as her grandmother. Later, EJ also held Rafe hostage in the same house. After the hostage situation was resolved, Rosalind's Rachel Blake threatened to expose EJ if Jada gave her protection. As such, EJ had the old lady taken away to an undisclosed place. With that, Rosalind exited Days of Our Lives. As a significant addition to the soap's plot, Theo returned to town, now played by Tyler. He met Uncle, Tony Demera, and soon joined Dimera Enterprises as the CEO. However, Peter Blake's sinister plan landed him inside the family crypt. A scuffle with Peter landed him with a cracked skull. Currently, he is fighting for survival at the hospital. Late Days of Our Lives star Wayne Northrup's son, Hank, joined the show to play a mentally disturbed character, Liam Salagico. Liam is being mentored by Abe Carver, but he recently connected with Jeremy Horton. Stephanie's former boyfriend, Jeremy Horton, returned to town after her book was published, bringing some uncomfortable secrets of their relationship. Played now by Michael Rourke, Jeremy pledged to have changed for the better, putting Stephanie at ease. Continue to watch Days of Our Lives as the new characters interact with the central personalities in town and add to the soap's drama. The video kicks off with Carson Boatman offering a thoughtful response. When asked what his character needs to improve, Boatman said, "Maybe letting go of the past." Veteran cast member Suzanne Rogers kept her answer simple, sharing that she hopes Maggie learns to do better in the year ahead. Annalyn McCord also leaned into humor when discussing Kat's future. "She could be better at lying," McCord joked, before adding, "She's a secret agent. She needs to get good at this." Abigail Klein suggested a more practical goal for her character, saying she hopes Stephanie takes some much-needed self-defense lessons in 2026. Paul Telfer acknowledged his character's well-documented temper. "His anger," Telfer said, before adding that, "maybe a Christmas miracle will happen, and he will find a better way to deal with his rage." Leo Howard weighed in on his character's personal growth, saying he hopes Tate works on letting Holly be who she is. Before offering his character some advice, "Let her go, pal." Stacey Hayduck joked that her character should learn to not overreact, while Eric Martsolf hopes his character will be getting a girlfriend. Closing out the video, Dan Feurigal delivered a tongue-in-cheek response about EJ, insisting his character has nothing to work on. "Nothing," he said. "He's perfect." Fans took to the comment section to share in the fun. One user wrote, "Kristen was the best, to not overreact. At least that made me smile." A second fan added, "Xander can do it. He will hit the mark he wants in 2026. I have mega confidence in Xander." With a third user happily adding, "I think you guys are perfect just the way you are." Days of Our Lives, spoilers for Thursday, January 1st, ring in a new year, with the Hernandez clan frantically prepping for Javi's wedding, while his groom-to-be freaks out and turns to Marlena for her traditional ego-fluffing. Key takeaways: will Leo be a no-show at his wedding? Chanel pouts at Johnny Gabby, and Gwen find more to bond over Leo, is Leo's biggest fan. He can do no wrong, and everything he does is not only brilliant, but downright inspired. Every once in a while, however, Leo remembers all the horrible things he's done, and wonders if maybe, just maybe, karma might be coming for him and his well-lotioned skin. He figures having Dimitri dump him should have reset the register in Leo's favor again. But what if it didn't? What if Leo and Javi aren't destined to live happily ever after, through, obviously, no fault of Leo's own? Leo doesn't know if he'll be able to handle that. He's starting to spiral. Oh no! Stop the world! Leo wants to get off. He needs some positive reinforcement and the reassurance that he's the best. Good thing Marlena exists, specifically for that purpose. Gabby and Gwen already bonded over being DiMera wife cast-offs. But now that Gwen is going to Leo's wedding, and Gabby has been told by Rafe that Stefan is dead, they have so much more in common. Chanel doesn't want Johnny to be CEO of DiMera. Johnny told her he's going to keep at it for a while longer, while Theo remains hospitalized. Chanel is unhappy. Her mother always does whatever Chanel wants. Why won't her husband? Days of Our Lives spoilers and updates pose the question: will Philip Kyriakis and Gabby Hernandez last? Even though Philip seemed very supportive of Gabby's sudden rush of grief, might she still be too hung up on Stefan DiMera? There's still a possibility that Stefan's not dead, even though Rafe Hernandez didn't think it made much sense for Vivian Alamain to lie about her son's death. It seemed to make a lot of sense for Stefan's heart, which was transplanted from Jake DiMera to fail. Even though before he was shot, Stefan had no heart problems. However, it's entirely possible that as Jake's heart failed within Stefan's body, that he waited on a transplant list and no matching heart came available. If Vivian is faking Stefan's death, it may be for his own protection, if she's concerned enemies may harm him. On the other hand, she was the one who kidnapped him to keep him away from Gabby, who she doesn't approve of. Not only has Gabby's grief overwhelmed her, so have her feelings for Stefan. And even she doesn't understand why. She told Philip her whole world fell apart. Will Philip still be supportive and understanding if Gabby's feelings for Stefan, other than grief, continue and compete with her feelings for him? How can he compete with memories? It's obvious that Gabby pushed her feelings for Stefan down, and hearing of his death have brought them to the surface. And not only that, they seem to be magnified. She could consider, and Philip may prod her to do so, grief counseling. But Marlena Evans is dealing with her own grief. It would likely be very difficult for Marlena to work with a grief counseling patient right now. Her own loss is much too fresh. It's a fair question to ask how patient can Philip be. He understands what's going on. But what if Gabby takes months and months to work through her grief? Denial of feelings for Stefan now has caused a torrent of feelings to come to the surface afresh, even though she herself can't understand why. Will the depth of Gabby's feelings for Stefan, that she pushed down for so long, serve to eventually drive a now very patient Philip away? Worse yet, will Gabby try to now push her grief down in an effort to maintain her romance with Philip? That usually doesn't bode well, because the person in grief usually then comes down with a severe case of depression. Be sure to catch up on everything happening with Duel right now. Come back here often for Days of Our Lives spoilers, news, and updates. Days of Our Lives. Spoilers for Wednesday, December 31st. Reveal the end of the year brings a painful situation for Kristen DiMera. Elsewhere, the DiMera men look ahead. Plus, more awkward is in store for Chad DiMera and Kat Green. Here's what you need to know. First, Kristen has to make a tough choice. Days of Our Lives spoilers hint this involves Peter Blake. He's been on life support since she defended the rest of the family from him in the crypt. And we know they've mentioned the family needing to make some decisions. Since Kristen is his biological sister, we assume she's the one whose opinion will count in the end. Technically, it should be her mother's, but that depends on the state Rachel Blake is in mentally and physically. Since we know Kristen and Peter will share a tense moment, it's obvious he'll wake up and spare her the pain of making that choice. But he'll just cause a different kind of pain by his behavior towards her. Elsewhere, the DiMera men face the future. We know EJ DiMera will be wary of Peter and want to pull the plug. This will likely be a debate between them all, but we also believe they'll each individually be dealing with their own concerns right now, like EJ wanting to keep his project under wraps, plus wanting to fix things with Johnny DiMera, and Chad gearing up for the custody fight. We hope to see them getting together to help each other with the bigger picture, as well as these other situations. Speaking of Chad's problems, more are on the way. It seems Kat and Chad have another awkward moment. This will be an encounter at University Hospital. We know there is no way for them to completely avoid each other in the same town, but we're wary of this, as if the wrong person sees it. This will be just more fuel on the fire for the custody mess. And we wonder how many more of these moments we'll need to see before Chad and Kat end up together again. As they should. Finally, Rachel Black and Sophia Choi get a surprise visitor. Tate Black is a good guess, in our opinion, since he did say he'd be visiting both, especially since Sophia's been found in Rachel's room. However, Melinda Trask is supposed to be making some deal with Belle Black, so we wonder if she's actually going to be the visitor. Days of Our Lives, spoilers are in for Wednesday, December 31st, 2025. In tomorrow's episode, fans can expect Sophia Choi to get a visitor on New Year's Eve. The Dimera family discusses their options. Plus, Belle Black negotiates with Melinda Trask. Keep reading, and let's talk about what is coming up in the Peacock soap opera. Now that the hostages have been freed from the crypt, Theo Carver remains unconscious. Everyone is hoping that he wakes up soon. Until then, there is a difficult decision that must be made. Tony DiMera told Anna DiMera that they were deciding on Peter Blake's fate. EJ DiMera votes to pull the plug. Of course, that would help protect EJ's secrets. While EJ claims it would protect them all, fans know that EJ had a lot of secrets on the phone. Then, we have a preview clip showing Kristen crying over Peter's lifeless body in the hospital. Will she be able to pull the plug, or will she make a controversial choice? With Dr. Wilhelm Rolf working on new uses for Versavix, I have to wonder if Peter will be resurrected, Days of Our Lives. Spoilers for tomorrow's episode reveal that Chad DiMera will have a run-in at the hospital. From a preview clip, we can tell that Chad and Kat literally run into each other. Chad helps Kat pick up her dropped files. However, I wonder if Thomas DiMera or Jennifer Horton Devereaux could see. That could complicate the truce that Chad has with his son and mother-in-law. Read this, Days of Our Lives. Spoilers. Is Chanel facing a second miscarriage? The threat posed by Sophia's scheme revealed. Meanwhile, Belle tries to make a deal with Melinda. This is clearly about Kristen and Rachel Black. Kristen needs to be free since she didn't shoot EJ. At the same time, what happens to Rachel? Belle is pretty confident that the court will deal with Rachel gently since she's already getting help. However, Melinda has a bad history with Kristen. Could Melinda make a deal, then go back on it? I could see the lawyer punishing Kristen by further separating her from Rachel. After all, that is what Kristen did to Melinda and Haley Chen. There is also Sophia and Rachel, who will spend New Year's Eve at Bayview. However, both of the patients will get surprise visitors. Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most on Wednesday, December 31st, 2025? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember to keep watching the soap on Peacock to find out what happens next. Salem heads into New Year's Eve with tense family choices, a surprising legal deal, emotional conflicts, and uncomfortable run-ins that could change everything for those involved. Wednesday, December 31st, 2025, brings an emotionally heavy episode of Days of Our Lives as Salem's residents face difficult choices and unresolved tensions.